What happens when those in power hold on for decades, while the needs of their nations change? In this video, we will be discussing how Africa's oldest presidents are a heavy burden to growth of Africa in general. Stick around, because what we uncover might just change how you see leadership in Africa forever. Please do like and subscribe. In recent years, economists and policymakers have sought answers as to why many African countries continue to lag behind in development. While issues like corruption and poor governance are often cited, one crucial factor is frequently overlooked: the advanced age of some African leaders and the impact it has on the continent's progress. Talking about the age problem in African leadership. There is no definitive rule that an individual's age determines their leadership performance. However, in a continent as youthful as Africa, where over 60% of the population is under 25, it is crucial to ask whether the age of its leaders is affecting growth. Many of Africa's oldest presidents, who have been in power for decades, struggle to connect with the challenges and aspirations of a younger generation. The lack of fresh leadership and the periodic rotation of power has created stagnation in innovation and policy reforms across the continent. Talking about the age gap between leaders and their nations. The average age of the 10 oldest African leaders is 80.2 years, while the average age of the African population is just 19.4 years. This stark contrast creates a leadership gap between the aging leaders and the young population they govern. For example, the youngest president in Africa, Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, is 35 years old, a stark difference from the continent's oldest, Paul Biya of Cameroon, who is 91. Many African countries, which are only a few decades into post-independence, find themselves led by individuals who are more than twice their age, further deepening the disconnect. In contrast, the average age of leaders in the world's 10 most developed nations is 52. This youthful demographic often brings with it more adaptable, innovative approaches to governance, allowing these countries to meet the fast-changing needs of the global economy. Talking about the long-serving leaders, stifle innovation. Many of Africa's oldest presidents have been in power for over 2 decades, with some serving as long as 40 years. Leaders like Paul Biya, Cameroon, Teodoro Obiang, Equatorial Guinea, and Yoweri Museveni, Uganda, have maintained a firm grip on power, often at the expense of new ideas. Long tenure in leadership often results in stagnation, as leaders tend to recycle old policies rather than embrace innovative solutions. For example, while the world moves towards digitization, tech-driven industries, and youth-centered policies, many African leaders continue to implement outdated economic models that fail to address the challenges of unemployment and poverty. Robert Mugabe's long rule in Zimbabwe is a clear example of how long-term leadership, with little policy evolution, can lead to national economic collapse. Talking about how lack of leadership transitions hinders growth. A key reason for Africa's developmental struggles is the lack of leadership transitions. In most developed nations, there is a limit of 2 terms, or around 10 years, for presidents. This allows for the infusion of new ideas and creates opportunities for political competition, which can foster better governance. However, many African leaders manipulate their constitutions to remain in power indefinitely, such as Paul Kagame in Rwanda and Idris Deby of Chad. This resistance to power transition stifles progress and prevents younger, more dynamic leaders from rising to address contemporary issues. Talking about the disconnect from Africa's youthful population. Africa is one of the youngest continents in the world, yet it is governed by some of the oldest leaders. This disconnect means that many of the policies designed by these aging leaders fail to reflect the realities of young Africans, particularly in areas like technology, entrepreneurship, and education. For example, while modern economies thrive on innovation in sectors like digital finance and technology, African leaders often fall back on traditional, less effective solutions to tackle unemployment and economic challenges. Youthful leadership brings the ability to understand and navigate emerging trends such as the digital economy, urbanization, and the evolving job market. Without younger leaders who are more attuned to these global shifts, Africa risks falling further behind. The future of leadership in Africa. There is a growing need for leadership change in Africa, where youth can play a critical role in driving the continent toward progress. Fresh young leadership brings not only new ideas, but also a sense of urgency in addressing the continent's pressing issues such as poverty, unemployment, and poor infrastructure. While experience and wisdom are important, Africa's future depends on leaders who can relate to the challenges of the modern world. Leadership transitions are vital to fostering innovation, ensuring accountability, and providing opportunities for emerging leaders who can propel Africa forward into a more prosperous era. In conclusion, Africa's oldest presidents, while often revered for their contributions to their nation's histories, are now a burden on the continent's growth. Their extended time in power has resulted in outdated policies, stagnation, and a failure to address the needs of the continent's youthful population. The future of Africa's development lies in the hands of younger, more dynamic leaders who can innovate and adapt to a rapidly changing world. It's time for Africa to embrace change, foster leadership transitions, and allow the next generation to take charge of the continent's destiny. Do you think Africa's future lies in the hands of younger, more dynamic leaders, or is there still value in the experience of these long-serving presidents? Share your thoughts below. Let's discuss what kind of leadership Africa truly needs for progress.